Okay. Welcome back to I was reincarnated 7th Prince, so I took my time perfecting my magical ability. Anime review, episode number 20. Yeah, it's a good thing I ended as an even number and not an odd number, like occasionally when I finish these seasons up. Yeah, here reviewing the 24th episode of the series, which also happens to be the final episode of season 2, known as In the Light. Now, before I talk about the episode, there has been no announcement for season 3. None whatsoever. Kind of surprising given the fact that when the first season ended last year, we had this greenlit basically right away. Oh, we got season 2. And yet this season, like, when it actually was, I'll get to find out later, but I'm like, really? You finished the season up and no announcement for season 3? Kind of weird. Like, if you're really curious, like, did they cover enough material? Well, from what I read anyways, looks like I think they adapted from manga-wise up until, I think, like, the chapters published in, like, I'm guessing, like, volume 12, I think it was. They went through, like, a lot here. So here's what happens. Lloyd is battling the evil pastor. And meanwhile, though, the nun on the ground basically is still singing. Though, of course, Lloyd's big dog does basically is howling into basically something at the screeching thing, and of course, singing like crazy, and of course, holds this thing for several hours. And the Chimera is basically closing up, looking up basically the dog to chip in, battle him off. Lloyd's sister basically is there too, and eventually, the pastor is defeated and presumably dead. And then we have a cover-up where a rogue assassin killed the Pope, and the one basically showed up for the ceremony was an imposter. Despite the fact everybody knows, well, half the bishops didn't even know what the heck was going on anyways. Angelica, of course, basically is just knocking on your feet. What happened, sir? Don't really know. And, well, then pretty much basically everything is kind of wrapped up nice little bow. We have this sort of all bath basic all the ladies, except the one seen here are basically the nun who was singing, who was named a new pope. Yes, seriously, a female pope. Not the first time I've seen this happen. As a matter of fact, it was actually depicted a female pope. Well, actually twice. I've seen it before this. One obviously was Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where you have basically a Supreme Kai. Basically, a Supreme Kai is basically a space pope. That's literally what the woman is. Basically, she's charged religion. Of course, this also happened in another world with my smartphone. So you might be thinking, wait, if you say there was a female pope, why didn't we see in season 2? Quite simple, really. The studio chose not to up the chapter for some reason. Not sure why, but they did. And they also kind of had to bridge basically a fight sequence that took basically a half a chapter. In a span of a minute. Yes. Because studios love their montages, but at least get the battle in pretty quickly. But I have my own issues with basically season 2 anyways. I like season 2 of my smartphone, but one of my biggest issues was with the season was that we could have this really cool sequence picked animation where in the book basically we have the famous scene where it was like one thing. I actually did it twice. First time I did it to basically get her attention by using the Ride of the Valkyries, and the anime didn't adapt it for some reason. I might do a video basically for that series of stuff the season 2 skipped. I might do that. But in the case of basically this episode here, yeah, most of the girls here don't see Tao for some reason. Yeah, we don't see her. Not sure why. We do have basically Sybil. We see the nun. We see Lloyd's sister. Lloyd apparently doesn't know a lot of the stuff. He's a guy, which is kind of odd. Maybe because he's a little boy. I'm not sure. And, well, they kind of wrap it up pretty easily there. Like, you would think with this episode, like, there probably is not room to do a season 2. There is material, yes. But I think in the terms of the anime, I think like there may not be needed for season 2. Season 3, excuse me. But this was a good season. I liked it. But now the final thoughts on season 2 of this show. I thought the show was quite interesting. For what it is. I mean, I checked out just last year. I think the season was like about halfway through by the time I caught when I caught with it, and I did regular reviews of it pretty much when the show was airing. And this was another season where I did a review of it. Kind of weird coincidence where a show I reviewed like a year or two ago with season 2 for the show comes out this for a year. This also happened with, let's see, there was I've Been Killing Science for years, maximum level. There's of course Tales of Red Rings that's just been released. That first season was released last year. There's been a few, not much. I'm looking forward to it. If let's say if this show did get a season 3, would I watch it? Yes, because I think the animation is gorgeous in the show. Like, for one thing, unlike a few studios, they don't use CGI. And plus also, it's not used for walking scenes. Looking at you, failure frame. Yep. But not much else to say, basically, about this episode. I might do it basically on my smartphone, probably, like, right after my comic corner and get my things, basically. I thought the anime skipped. So yeah, that's pretty much the particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications. Next up is a comic corner, and then it's on to that no, my smartphone. What talk about stuff was skipped. And then basically it's on to the newest episode here on class. And then finally I'm going to discuss basically, well, I'm going to resume watching, well, Super Sentai with Boom Manja, okay? Next video. Bye.